Imagine 3 rounds of therapy and 9 medications, and you're still up to your neck in OCD. What do you build when the standard path available to you hasn't been enough? I'm Samantha Bray, licensed therapist with over a decade specializing in OCD. Today, welcome Carl. He's calling in from a small village in the UK, and although he had symptoms from about age 8, he wasn't diagnosed until a severe flare-up in his 30s. So what does a person do when the standard treatment protocol that's available to you in your country leaves you stranded? Well, he built his own. Carl created what he calls the ultimate 8 practical pillars designed to make OCD recovery possible when you may have to do it alone. Now, some of these pillars are squarely evidence-based, and some Carl is experimenting on his own life, and he'll tell you about that himself. Quick, before we get started, if you find this podcast helpful, please follow, like, or share the show. If you have 10 seconds, leave a quick rating. It truly helps others find these podcasts.
Welcome to OCD Insights, where we break down the complexities of OCD with compassion, clarity, and hope. Whether you're seeking answers, support, or connection, you're not alone. So let's dive right in with our host, Samantha Bray. This is OCD Insights.
Hi, Carl. Welcome to the OCD Insights podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for being willing to share a little about your OCD journey. I'm so interested in the path that has gotten you to what you describe as creating the ultimate 8.
Mm-hmm.
I am just excited to hear about your journey to this point and what you've created. So where would you like to begin?
Okay. I'll start with my OCD. So I had OCD as a child. I wasn't diagnosed until later in life, about 13 years ago. But yeah, as a child, I can remember doing things like I'd shut the bedroom door, and then I'd open it, then shut it, then open it, then shut it, then open it, then shut it, and it was in sort of sets of 1, 2, 1, 2, and if that didn't feel right, then I had to do 1, 2, 1, 2 again, and checking the bedroom door like shut, 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 and again, even saying the word shut, shut in 1, 2, 1, 2 pattern. And it was, as well as that, it was turning the lights off. Again, I'd turn the lights off, on, off, off, off. And it was always to prevent something bad from happening. So that was round about, I reckon, earliest sort of memory, maybe about 8 or 9 years old.
Do you remember if anyone had a clue if that was OCD, or what did they think was going on with you?
No, nobody really sort of, I mean, it was back in the 80s. I think my parents just thought I was mucking about, just messing around or playing a game, which in some ways, sometimes it did sort of gamify a little bit. And it'd be like, if I step on this crack, something bad will happen. So don't step on the crack, jump over it. And and sometimes, OCD would sort of almost gamify a little bit as a child. And then moving on to teenage years, it was similar sort of stuff, but obviously, like the stove when cooking as well. I'd check the stove, quite a few times after cooking, and I'd have issues around sort of going to the toilet and washing my hands. I'd have to wash my hands a certain way in a certain amount of times. And then it's sort of, cause I find my OCD sort of like comes and goes in waves. And it it eased off for a while in my 20s, and then although mind you, saying that it did ease off in my 20s, but I did sort of replace it with drinking quite heavily at the time.
Like
Um,
self-medicating,
yeah,
trying to.
yeah.
Mm,
Um, and then in my 30s, it came back um, quite sort of quite fierce. And at the time, I was working as a chef in a elderly care home, and
okay.
I just suddenly had the thought, I live in a very small village, and what if I do something that makes somebody in this care home sick or makes them die? What if I don't cook something properly? What if something's not hygienic enough?
Mhm.
And that thought just took hold and just grew at a rapid rate. And I had to stop work for a while, and that was
Oh
when I was
man.
diagnosed with OCD. That was back in
Oh,
2013.
okay. So it took till you were in your 30s to get the proper diagnosis.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I'm wondering, when you were a child and even in your teen years, and you had the distressing thoughts that if you didn't do something in that game right, that something bad would happen. Did you ever share with any of your family or a therapist? Did you ever share that you were having those kinds of distressing thoughts?
Well, as a child,
Yeah,
um, no, no, not really. I mean, I didn't really sort of know what it was. I
yeah,
just thought it was a a, a quirk of my mind. Just something that everybody did, or that was just, if not everybody did it, then just it was something that I did and didn't really
you
question it
kept.
too much.
Okay. So then when you were in your um, job and that theme popped up so strong, um, what was it that led you to get diagnosed? Was it the difficulty with keeping the job?
I can remember one day, um, I was in the kitchen working, and just had so many different like thoughts sort of bombarding my brain, and
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it anymore. And
Mm.
I I I told my manager that I had to go home. That I was sick. I didn't really say what it was, but I said I had to go home. I was sick, and I remember that day. It doesn't snow very often in the UK, but that day
Yeah.
it was really really snowing, and I only lived around the corner from where I worked, and I can remember I left work, went round the corner to home. Um, my wife wasn't in. She'd gone out to the shops in the town, and I didn't have
Mhm.
a key. So I stood outside in the garden for about 2 hours in the
Wow.
snow, not wanting to go back to work, not able to get into the house,
Mm.
and then I got so cold and so freezing that I had to go back to work because I had to go back inside. I needed to get warm. Um,
Mhm.
and then they sat me down, and I spoke about what was going on inside my head. And that was the prompt to go to see the GP, the doctor. And, then from there, he diagnosed me with OCD.
Wow. So were they kind to you at work?
Yeah, yeah, they were. I don't think they really sort of understood it much, but it was clear that I was in a level of distress.
Uh-huh. They could tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely noticeable.
Mhm. Right. So after your GP appointment and they diagnosed you, what happened after that?
Um, I began medication. I started on sertraline, which is an SSRI, and
Uh-huh.
After a few weeks, I got an appointment to do some CBT and ERP.
Okay.
That was the first set of CBT and ERP that I did. I've to date, I've done 3 sets of CBT with ERP, but that was the first one.
And what do you mean exactly by sets? 3 sets?
Oh, just that. I don't know how it is in the US, but here in the UK, you you go on the NHS, which is free at the point of entry. So,
Okay.
but the the NHS is very stretched, very sort of um, underfunded and busy, and it can take waiting lists for things like
Cool.
CBT and ERP can take quite some time. So when I say sets, I just mean I did one. Treatment was a 12-week program. So
Okay.
you go once a week, and it was a 12-week
Okay.
program. So I've done 3 sets of 12 weeks
Okay.
between now and 2013.
All right. So once a week for how long was your sessions? Was it an
About an
hour
hour.
or more? Okay.
About an hour. And the first one had longer ERP sessions. There was a period with the first set of CBT and ERP that I did where you could go in and have like an all day session doing ERP in a group.
In a group. Okay. What was that like in a group? How did they run that? How'd they structure it?
It was actually it was all right. I was I remember I was very unsure at first, but
Mhm.
I think in a group setting, um, well, one, it's nice to see that there are other people that are experiencing similar to what you are. And
Right.
I think as well, maybe it's a character flaw on my part, but there's also that thing of pushing yourself a little bit more doing the ERP because you don't want to be the one person in the room that can't do it or that is you want to be you want to how can I word it? You don't want to be the one person in the room that is not able to do the
Mm,
exposure. So it's a little extra push in a group setting.
okay. So would you guys like sit in a circle and take turns doing the next exposure in your hierarchy?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back because it was about 13 years ago. But
Oh,
yeah, we'd sit in a circle, and
cool.
um, depending on what the exposure was for different people, some people would do it in the room. Some people would go out into another room and do it with one of the therapists, and meanwhile the rest of us would be sort of talking within the group, um, obviously about our triggers and um, our OCD.
So, in between the 3 times that you went through the program, um, how long, did you go between those episodes? And I'm curious, after the first one, let's just talk about one at a time. After your
Okay.
first set,
Af-
what did you feel you found helpful, and how long did you go without going back in?
I found it helpful in a strange way as well, somewhat enjoyable. It was a controlled setting, and I was facing some of the
Mhm.
fears, and it felt very sort of productive and proactive. But then where I sort of fell down a little bit was outside of that setting. I wouldn't push myself.
Okay.
I wouldn't. It didn't stick for too. It didn't. The progress didn't stick for too long.
Okay.
But the next time that I went um, for the for more CBT ERP was after 2013, 2014. Again, like I say, it sort of comes in waves. It it eased a little bit, and I was at a manageable functional level for quite a while, and then 24, the next big wave hit, and that was when I went back to do another set of it was late 2024, early 2025 when I went back to do the second set of CBT and ERP, and actually set number 2 and set number 3 sort of ran one after the other because I'd I'd got a place on the NHS and was doing that, but I'd also, just through my own research, I'd sourced a charity that was doing online therapy sessions via Zoom. So I signed up for that, and that sort of began when the NHS one finished. So it meant I had an extended period of treatment.
That was between the second and third
Yeah.
round. And how often did you meet via Zoom?
Zoom, it was a similar sort of format. So it was once a week for about an hour. No, maybe it was once a week for about an hour and a half. And it was a 12-week program.
In a group setting as well?
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. They have a lot of group work, it sounds like, in the UK. Maybe that you have to do that because there's an extensive wait list, right?
Yeah.
And lack of resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm curious. I have a couple questions. One, I'm wondering what you noticed different about the way ERP was taught or approached between the first time you learned about it and the last. I'm also wondering, I know OCD can come in waves, but typically it can get sparked by changes in developmental stages in our life, setting new goals, major milestones. And I'm wondering if you could correlate any of these time frames, like the second and third time, with something happening in your world.
I think if I answer that one first, I can't really. I think what I did feel both times though was, when you're in your bathroom and you fill the sink with water, and then when you don't know if you Americans call it a plug, but when you pull out the plug and the water goes down the drain, it felt like I was on the edge of the whirlpool, but I could feel that I'm going to go in unless something changed. I felt that both times, but obviously nothing changed, and I ended up sort of going down the whirlpool. And but no, I can't pinpoint it to any sort of like developmental stage or any particular event that was going on outside of the fact that I had this sort of seed or this thought in my head that things are getting more difficult, things are getting worse, and I feel like I'm on the edge of the whirlpool. I had that both times.
So if I'm hearing it, correct me if I'm wrong, you're on the edge of the OCD whirlpool.
Yeah.
So, okay, it never really went away, but it was well managed for all those years.
Yeah.
Okay. You must have been doing some things right to manage it that long.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think a quote I heard from one of the therapists was that she said that OCD can be like paddling or bathing in the ocean. Sometimes you go in and the water, or OCD in this case, is just on your toes. Other times you go in and the water is up to your neck. And I think that sort of stuck with me. There's been times where I've just, paddled with my OCD, and there have been times where it's it's at my neck.
That's a good analogy. What did you notice different about the way therapists approached exposure and response prevention in that span of time? Was that like 10 years from the
Yeah,
first time and the
yeah,
third
just
time?
over. Yeah, just over.
Yeah.
Well, I think actually the first time was the best time.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
the the charity that I discovered, like I said, that was online. That was via Zoom. I don't know what your sort of opinion is on this, but one of the facilitators did say that they were cured from OCD. I know that in the OCD community, that's a very controversial issue. Can you be cured from OCD, or can you just manage OCD?
What do you think about that?
Myself, I'm open. I'd say that it would appear right now that the best you can hope for OCD is to manage it and not have it manage you.
Yeah.
But I am open, hopeful, and optimistic that if one day there is a cure, then sign me up.
Sign me up. Yeah.
So yeah, so that, because she's one of the facilitators, sort of were talking about the fact that they were cured, which is fine, fair enough. But it was very much a sort of the treatment fell into two categories. One, detached mindfulness, which is one of the pillars from the Ultimate Eight, and two was ERP. Now, obviously, on Zoom in a group, you can't really do ERP. So the onus on doing the ERP was that you would go away and you would spend X amount of time in that week doing ERP yourself.
Okay.
So, and also in a group setting, if you find you're struggling, or you find there's something you want to talk about, you don't always feel open enough to share within the group. So there were
How
flaws.
did you handle that? If you wanted to share, did you just keep it to yourself, or did you have a chance to speak to the therapist individually?
There was never a chance to speak individually, but there was a chance to speak in smaller groups. So, for example, if there was, say, 20 of us in the cohort, then we get broken down into maybe groups of, say, 4 or 5.
Did that feel safer?
Yeah, I think at times. But again, I suppose depending on what's on your mind, sometimes you might be a bit more inclined to hold it back. Sometimes you might be more inclined to speak up. I suppose it depends what's on.
Right. I'm curious, did they have any kind of like rhyme or reason to how they would split the group up? Was it by theme or by gender, or is there any kind of thought to how they did that?
No, just random.
Would it have been helpful, do you think?
Honestly, I don't know. Possibly, perhaps, for some people at some point, maybe some of the girls might have felt better talking in an all-girl environment. And again, maybe similar with the guys, or those with contamination OCD might have felt a bit more comfortable, sort of sharing in an environment that's more everybody has it. Everybody's the same.
I can imagine that would be helpful for people that have different kinds of taboo thoughts or harm thoughts. I
Yeah,
wonder.
yeah.
Yeah. So in your the charity Zoom sessions, if you
Mhm.
weren't doing exposures in the session, what were you doing? Do you remember what kind of material or how it was structured?
Um, we'd have we had chapters of a book to read in
Okay.
between sessions,
Oh, okay.
and we the facilitator spoke a lot about detached mindfulness and also about sort of different aspects of OCD. Like there was just trying to remember back specifically, but there was one time where family and friends were invited
Oh,
to join, so that
yeah.
and we had to leave the the OCD sufferers had to leave the the Zoom meeting early so that he could talk to family and friends about um, enabling and
How did that go for you? I'm intrigued that they had you leave the group. Well, I wonder why.
yeah. Well, I can to be honest, I'm smiling
That
now
was
as I say it, but my wife obviously was my significant other, and she went to the meeting. But obviously, we've been doing this OCD thing for our entire married life, and um, she was, and there was nothing really that she didn't really already know. You know, you're not supposed to give reassurance. If you give reassurance, it's only going to make it worse.
oh,
So I think possibly the 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 charity one was the one that had the most um, peer sort of like talking. You know, we sort of talk with each other. We set up a WhatsApp group
okay.
afterwards, so we kept in touch via WhatsApp, and in that sense, not feeling like you're the only person. Obviously, OCD can make your world very small,
Yeah,
and so to have 10, 12, 15 people that, that are there that know exactly what you're talking about,
yeah.
I think that actually helped more in some ways than the actual sessions.
I love to hear that. I've hosted some groups in the past and starting a beta group soon because of that exact reason. I see that in um, instilling hope and normalizing it and not feeling alone is so powerful, isn't it? Um, you had written me that it sounds like you were diagnosed with severe treatment resistant contamination OCD. Why severe treatment resistant?
Um, well, I think the treatment resistant bit comes from me,
Okay.
but obviously I've done 3 rounds of CBT and ERP.
Hmm.
I was writing a list um, earlier today, and I've been on since 2013. I've been on 9 different medications
Okay.
across 6 different medication classes
Okay.
for OCD, um, and none of them have really had much of a positive effect.
Okay. Was there issues with the side effects and maybe you couldn't get to a high enough dose or they just weren't working for you?
I think all of them bar one. It was just that they weren't working for me. Um, I did, I did last year have some quite troubling side effects with clomipramine.
Hmm.
Um, I had quite a few side effects with clomipramine, to be honest. Constipation.
Oh,
Um, I had slurred speech, muscle spasms.
so that was not a good fit for you.
No, unfortunately, it wasn't.
Um, when you mentioned mindfulness that the program introduced, that's music to my ears. I think that needs to happen more here in the States,
Hmm.
where it's paired with ERP. I'm curious, was that your first time being introduced to mindfulness, and how did you experience it?
Well, I'd looked at certain meditations before online. And but the actual topic of detached mindfulness, that was the first time that I'd really sort of come across that.
Can you, for audience that don't know what that means, could you put it in your own words?
It's basically observing the thought without reacting to it. So in OCD, you'd know you'd have a thought, and you'd, instead of engaging with it or reacting to it or arguing with it, you would say, "There's that OCD thought," or "I'm having that thought that blah blah blah," and you would just not engage with it. So no, it's not about sort of trying to push it down or bury it away. It's just like if a telephone rings and you don't answer it, it's still there going blah 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 blah, but you're just not engaging with it.
That's so effective, and it's a very good way to handle mental compulsions, right? It's not just physical things that you have to stop. You have to stop arguing and debating and analyzing and all those other things in your mind by noting. Yeah, so here, I guess they don't call it in the States detached mindfulness. I haven't heard that term here,
Okay.
but what you're describing, yes, that's mindfulness. It's paying attention to the present moment on purpose, or what's going on in your mind on purpose with intention and no judgment, and noticing. So therapists will say, name it to tame it. And you say, that's my OCD thought. And that gives you that little bit of distance, to use your wiser mind. I'm glad that you were taught that.
It's definitely, it's a practice that needs practice.
Yeah.
I find that I've had a thought and I've argued with it or done whatever, or done the compulsion or whatever, and then I was like, oh no, actually I was supposed to use detached mindfulness there. It's something. It's a practice that you have to practice.
Yeah, it's like brushing your teeth. It's something you have to do on a regular basis to see the results you want. What is your current mindfulness practices? How do you stay on top of it these days?
Well, it's a pillar in the Ultimate Eight, detached mindfulness. So I'm very, at the moment, I'm trying to be very sort of aware of the moment and watch that my mind doesn't turn on the noise. And something else that I do that I find is a help at the end of the day is a body scan meditation, and that's a good way of being in the present moment.
So your anchor in that meditation is to bring your mind back to doing the body scan, and then if it wanders, the practice, come back.
Good one. And obviously, the mind will wander, but it's just the practice of bringing it back
over and over. Yeah, I'm so curious how you came to develop your ultimate eight pillars. This is a great list. If you want, we could jump into going over each of the pillars a little bit. So where did you start? I guess are these in order of how they came to you?
No, they're just the order that I wrote them down in. Apart from pillar number one. Pillar number one is the cornerstone of everything else. I want to just on that. I want to just ask you a question, actually. If it's okay. I can remember in your channel trailer, you mentioned noticing that ERP wasn't the right fit for everyone at every stage of their journey, and that people needed options. And you used like a house metaphor.
Oh, yes.
I was just wondering if you could remind me of that, what that was.
Oh, yeah. The house metaphors, like when you're building a home, ERP to me is like a tool. And so you need tools to build a home, but you also need to lay a foundation and you need a variety of tools. You can't do everything with just a hammer. So that's the analogy I made. Like ERP is one part of the toolbox,
Mm-hmm.
but like we were talking about how you handle the mental noise and using mindfulness, that's another tool. And I think a lot of folks need psychoeducation, which I would say is the foundation to understand why they're doing the exposures and how to hit the bullseye, how to hit that mark. Because sometimes you can be told to go do something to be exposed. But if you're not um, counseled on how to do that intentionally, mindfully, how you move your body in such a way that you have your body tell your mind, hey, that seems like he's not running from a tiger. It must be a paper tiger because he's walking up to that exposure at a normal pace. He's breathing. He didn't run from it. He actually went towards it and engaged with it. If you do this with a willing spirit and moving your body in a slow, controlled way, even if all the bells and whistles are going off in your body inside, internally, your mind takes note that you overruled it and you moved in such a manner that you're not running from the tiger. And it'll start to dial back the alarm, the sensitivity, and start to increase your tolerance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, we don't need to flood you with anxiety. I don't want to get in the weeds. I hope I'm answering your question. There's education, there's mindfulness, there's different tools in inference-based cognitive behavioral therapy around understanding where the mind's pulling logic from and being able to see your thoughts with distance and not be fused with them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all kinds of ways to approach um, how you manage your OCD. And on another note, there's the holistic buffering and getting yourself resourced. So having all the foundations under you that help your nervous system, help your outlook and your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So, your diet, your sleep, your relationships, having things in your life that you feel purpose so you can kind of squeeze OCD out by having things to put your mind on that you value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. There's quite a bit of Ultimate 8 in there.
Oh, great. So share with me. Where would
Okay. Well, first of all, how I came up with the Ultimate 8, I felt like I needed something to take the edge off doing ERP at home while stuck in treatment limbo. Um, so
So you never had a therapist consistently this whole time?
just during those periods, those 12-week periods, yeah. So I started searching online, just with purpose, and as I was looking, I came across a quote. Sometimes, if you want something to exist, you have to create it yourself.
That's great.
And um, I just I love that. I love that idea. So using AI, I'm a big fan of artificial intelligence. Using AI, I searched online, um, Facebook groups, Reddit forums, and I put together this 8-pillar system to help make ERP more doable in real life. So that's basically the um, how I started with the Ultimate 8.
Very, very resourceful. I love that. What was the first thing that you came across in your research? I know we already spoke about ERP and the mindfulness, but what crossed your path?
Okay, so obviously pillar one is ERP. And it's obviously it's the most important thing in the entire protocol. And if I'm being honest, it's also the hardest. The idea, obviously, with ERP is straightforward. You face the thing that triggers your OCD. You resist doing the compulsion that follows. You face the trigger, anxiety spikes, and you sit with it without performing the ritual.
Mhm.
It's quite simple to explain, but it's genuinely quite hard to do, which
Yes.
is why I sort of came up with the following 7 pillars. Pillar number 2 is
Mhm.
the Mediterranean diet and supplementation. To be honest, I didn't really think that food, apart from the general advice to eat more fruit and veg, really mattered too much in OCD. But then I learned about the gut-brain axis, the
Okay.
direct two-way communication channel between the gut and the brain. And an
Mhm.
inflamed, undernourished gut sends a chronically dysregulated signal upward to the brain. A healthier gut means a calmer, more resilient brain. That's not
Yeah.
woo-woo or alternative medicine. That's established neuroscience. Um,
Yes.
the Mediterranean
What
diet,
is, yeah, what does that consist of? I think I have an idea, but for those that don't, maybe
yeah,
describe it.
whole foods, healthy fats, lean protein,
Okay.
vegetables, legumes. My wife actually has a goes through sort of stages and different sort of cookery diet, um, different foods from around the world that she wants to try or do. And at the moment, it married up perfectly that she's got a thing for the Mediterranean diet and cooking the
Wonderful.
Mediterranean diet. So that's quite a handy
Yeah.
marriage of convenience. Um,
So you're the chef and she's the cook at home?
well, you see, um, that was, I mean, obviously OCD takes things away from you, and one of
Yeah.
the things that it took away from me was cooking.
Okay.
I never returned back to when I left my job that day. I never returned back. Um, cooking certain things are still a bit of an issue for me
Okay.
right now. So yeah, that was one of the things that
That,
OCD took
is
away
that
from me.
something, are you working towards it? I mean, I don't want to say it took it from you. I don't want to say that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I am working towards it, and obviously spending so long being a chef, there are,
Mhm.
there are times when I want to cook, or I have an idea for something that I'd like to make, but the amount of preparation and the amount of checking and washing and the feelings of anxiety that come up
Mhm.
it just puts me it just takes away the joy.
I hear that. I often tell my clients OCD is lightning, like lightning. It strikes the lightning rod in your life, and the lightning rod in people's lives are the things they enjoy, the things they love, their goals, their dreams. That's that's a lightning rod.
Mm.
And have you ever heard the idea that OCD sometimes can be like an inner protector that's really gone off the rails? You know, it's way overprotective.
Yeah.
And it's really trying to keep you from losing the thing you love by being extra, extra safe. But in doing what it tells you to do, you ultimately lose the thing you love. So when you said a game, that's what I thought of because you just can't play that game. It says you'll win if you do what I say, but you do what it says and you actually don't win.
Mm. Well, that's
So,
literally sort of how it sort of manifested for me. In a
yeah,
work setting, it was, what if something I do or don't check or don't do right will make somebody ill or even kill them,
right,
and it'll be my
right.
fault. At
Yeah,
home, it's, what if something I do or don't do makes my children sick or die?
right.
Um, and it's the bizarre thing is that my children are now 18 and 16, and it's worse now than when they were babies.
It's interesting. Why
Yeah,
do you think that is?
I really don't know. Um, I don't. I mean, obviously, logically,
Logic doesn't matter, does it?
it's crazy because I look at both my children. My daughter's 18 and my son's 16, and I look at my son and I see the things that he does. And the state that the kitchen's in after he's made himself a sandwich, and
Yeah.
and I think back to the things that I did, and how I lived when I was 16, and I think,
Mhm.
he's going to be okay. He's going to be fine. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just there's no logic.
Well, the one thing that crossed my mind, 'cause I have two sons that are grown up now, and then I have a daughter that's in middle school. So what crossed my mind when you were talking, I wonder if the idea that they're about to launch, and be grown on their own feet isn't that far. You're closer to that deadline than you were when they were a baby, right?
Mm, yeah,
And I wonder if that might be part of it, like, you're almost there, just keep them safe.
yeah. I mean, I hadn't really thought of it like that, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Um,
Who knows?
but yeah,
But,
it's such a weird a weird feeling to sort of like
yeah.
say. I
That's
mean,
the thing that it's latched on now. Maybe when they were babies, it was something else.
yeah,
But what's clear is it's a theme about keep wanting to keep people in your world safe.
yeah, and
Yeah.
as well, almost equal to that is it, the fact that it would be my fault, and
Mhm.
I would be in prison, or I would be to blame.
Absolutely. The second podcast that I just released this week, I actually said that that almost verbatim example when I was explaining to my guest how kind of how rumination works.
Hmm.
And the topic we're talking about is that he started an app called We Croak that a client brought to me years ago and showed me, and I've been referring my clients to it for years. And I interviewed him about it, and it's based on a Bhutanese saying that ancient wisdom that says to contemplate death, to be happy in life, you need to contemplate death 5 times a day. And that has been very effective in the sense that, and what I was explaining, when people have a thought, and people without OCD don't understand this often, um, it's not just my hands might be dirty, I need to wash them, right? It's what if I touch something and I'm contaminated, and then I spread it to this person or that person or someone I don't even know, and something happens to them.
Hmm.
What we do is that downward spiral technique. And you see for almost everybody I've ever worked with in 15 years, it ends in one of two ways. What's the worst that could happen? Well, someone could get sick. Okay. And then what's the worst that could happen? Well, ultimately, it gets down to they could die, right? Or they don't die, but you get blamed in such a way for the thing happening that you're taken away from your people. You're put in isolation. People either say I go to prison or I'm alone under a bridge and no one will have anything to do with me.
Hmm.
So I think because primally we know if we're kicked out of a village, right? When we were back in ancient times, if we were thrown out of the gate, we were going to get eaten by that tiger. We need people on so many levels as humans. That's the ultimate threat, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that thought of being outcast or being alone. I mean, obviously we're sociable creatures, and I think obviously the very thing that you're in OCD, you're trying to work against is actually being fueled even more.
Yeah, that's the conundrum.
Hmm.
Hmm. Well, let's get back to the pillars.
Pillar pillar three. Pillar three is the Wim Hof method. Now, have you heard of Wim Hof?
I have, but I'm not very versed in it. Please tell me more.
Okay, so Wim Hof is a Dutch extreme athlete, and he's known for climbing mountains in his shorts and doing all sorts of um, silly things in the snow in the freezing cold. And his method is a specific breathing breathwork pattern followed by cold exposure in the form of either a cold shower or ice bath. So
Okay.
I came across the Wim Hof method about 6 months ago, and the breath work is it's 30 deep breaths. Then on your final exhale, you a breath retention for about 30 seconds or a minute or as long as you can manage. And then a recovery breath and with a 15-second retention. And that's one round. So 30 deep
Okay.
breaths and then a breath hold and then a recovery breath with a 15-second hold. And that's one round. And it usually lasts for between 3 to 4 rounds. And cold exposure. Well, cold exposure is getting in the cold shower or turning the shower on cold at the end for 30 seconds or a minute. Um,
And this is meant to strengthen the nervous system.
yeah, it's I, I believe the breathing directly sort of conditions your stress response system
Mm-hmm.
and resets the nervous system.
Yeah. And have you found it to be helpful in the past 6 months? Have you noticed any improvement or changes?
Well, I will admit that my practice of the Wim Hof method has been very sporadic until recently. It's only been the last 4 or 5 weeks that I've actually really sort of seriously um, done it daily. But
Okay.
um, yeah, I think so. I the um the cold the cold exposure is the biggest one for me. I think
Okay.
it's I think it's basically like doing physical ERP. You're
Oh, really?
you're in the sense that you're staying in the cold water when every instinct is screaming to get out,
Mm.
and you're staying in that moment. And oops, sorry, I lost
You're
my
doing what you put your mind to,
yeah
despite what the body is saying. You're
yeah
overriding it. So it's more like you're practicing that skill, but not with the exact trigger that your OCD is
hmm
focused on.
hmm
Yeah, I get that. And I wonder if it also helps with inflammation. And I know it's a technique often used for emotional regulation too.
hmm
Very nice. And then the fourth pillar, we just chatted about the detached mindfulness.
yeah. So, like I say, it's one of the later pillars is body scan meditation, and again, I use a lot of YouTube for for that sort of thing. So, workouts, guided meditation. In that sense, YouTube is a great resource.
That's great. Okay, pillar 5. Tell me about your exercise and resistance training.
Well, when I was looking into exercise, I discovered that when you exercise, your brain, it creates a neuroplasticity window of 1 to 2 hours where new learning sticks more effectively and new neural patterns form more readily. So even 20 minutes of movement produces a measurable shift in your mental state and starts the neuroplasticity windows opening. So what looking at this and pillar 1 ERP, practically it would imply that ERP done within an hour of exercise is neurologically more effective than ERP just done cold.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah. So when you're doing this hard work, you can get more bang for it, right? That's awesome.
And I sort of looking into that a bit more because I was intrigued by that. I came up with my ERP triple threat, which is basically you have the exercise and then you have the ERP. And if you add a meaningful reward after ERP, something genuinely enjoyable, then the sequence becomes more powerful. The reward triggers a dopamine release that marks the entire experience as significant and worth repeating. The brain does not just record I survived that exposure, it records I survived that exposure and something wonderful followed. So basically, exercise primes the brain, ERP rewires it, and the reward reinforces the rewiring.
I love that.
So that's
Can you give me an example of a rundown of something you would do?
Okay, so I would do an exercise session. A particular exercise that I'll talk about in slightly more detail in a moment is something called DDP yoga. Have you heard of DDP yoga?
What does DDP stand for?
DDP stands for Diamond Dallas Page. He is a former professional wrestler who developed this yoga system.
Okay.
But I'll come back to that in a second. After a session of doing the DDP yoga session, I then look at one of my exposures for my hierarchy. So at the moment, something on my list would be walking the dog, and collecting the poop, and then just carrying on with the walk and the rest of the day without overwashing and without changing my clothes. And after the dog walk has been done successfully, in the past, my wife and I have done something like either go to the local bar for a drink and a mini date.
Sweet.
Or I've spent some time on playing computer games, or another one was we lined it up so it timing wise we were going out for the day as a family. So the exercise came in the morning, followed by the dog walk, followed by the family trip out.
I love that. So it sounds like you really value those quality time moments.
Yeah, I think again, I think OCD can take so much away from you if you're not careful. And like you said yourself, my children are getting to that age where they're looking at flying the nest. So any time that you can spend that's quality time, that's not OCD time, because a lot of time ends up being OCD time. So
that's part of what my philosophy is about filling your life. Not that you have to be busy 24/7 doing something, never meaning that, but you carve out time for rest, and that's what you're doing, not OCD, right? You're resting. But when you have all the clarity of what you value and what's important to you, and you decide to be living your life in line with your values, then you can design what you want to do. And when you're doing that, OCD gets the back seat. It doesn't get to be front and center, running the show. And I just love the examples you gave, doing something you enjoy, like playing a game, fertilizing and growing your relationship with your wife, and doing things as a family. And then that's your anchor, right?
Mm.
Where you
I think
want your mind to be.
I think there can be a danger sometimes that your partner can become almost like, if you're not careful, your partner can become like almost like more of a carer to you than a partner. If OCD is that severe, and every day is OCD, OCD, OCD. So I
Mm-hmm.
think to be able to sort of carve out those times where you do things as a family and you do things as a couple, date nights, etc. That you're steering your relationship back in the way that it was meant to be.
Well put.
Where we
We were talking about doing aerobic exercise, and you mentioned the yoga, and then the triple threat. You explained that, which was really cool, where you do the exercise, the ERP, and then a reward.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
wanted to mention about DDP yoga.
yes.
Yeah.
Um,
See,
what's that like?
the reason why I mentioned DDP yoga is because I have to be careful what sort of exercise I do because I have knee arthritis. So, um, and with DDP yoga, it combines traditional yoga postures with dynamic resistance and old school calisthenics. So you actively flex and engage your muscles throughout each position. So it basically delivers the benefits of both yoga, cardio, and resistance training simultaneously. And the good thing about
Right.
DDP yoga is that you can start at any sort of fitness level. There are workouts that you can do from your chair, workouts that you can do from your bed, and online is full of stories about how DDP yoga has helped participants lose weight, reduce anxiety, gain confidence, and
Wow.
helped physical rehabilitation. So, in making or attempting to make the ultimate eight as easy and as accessible as possible, you can do DDP from your couch. You can do DDP from your living room.
Start where you're at.
So yeah,
That's great. So no matter what your activity level has been, there's a starting point for everyone, it sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
P- Pillar 6 is act values and valued living. So would you mind explaining acceptance and commitment therapy? Because I'm sure you do it better than me.
Okay. Yes, sure. Just a brief intro. It ACT stands for acceptance and commitment therapy. So the acceptance piece is accepting, these are my words, accepting that our mind will think thoughts, that our minds are predicting machines, that things out of our control happen, and allowing the thoughts around these things, having the thoughts, the actual thoughts, allowing them to come into our mind, to be there. And it doesn't mean we agree with them. It doesn't mean that we want them. It doesn't mean anything. We actually are not going to assign meaning at all to those thoughts. They are simply thoughts. And then the commitment is when we have a thought or a trigger, let's just call it, the commitment is to bringing our attention and our mind back to what we value. And typically that's the thing you were doing the second before you were hijacked by some thought or some trigger. So you accept that thought's in your mind, and you pick up the needle on the record and you put it down on the song you want to listen to. You put your mind's focus back in the present moment on something you value. And that's the simplest way I could put it. Is
Thank
that
you.
how you understand it?
Yes, thank you. So I identified my core values, which for me were to be a present father to my 2 children, being a good husband to my wife, helping other people with OCD, and again, we've just spoke about, I sort of decided to extend it out beyond pure act values to include passions, hobbies, social connection, intimacy, because recovery isn't just about reducing symptoms, it's about rebuilding a full and rich life. So for me, that looks like martial arts. One of my passions in childhood was martial arts, and I sort of haven't done that for years. So I'm currently looking for a good school in my local area, and again, like we've talked about, we've just mentioned date nights with my wife, working on my YouTube channel, and getting out more in nature, spending more time out and about with the family. So again, it's about building a life that is so full that OCD is pressed to the edges. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
you make your life big.
and
It doesn't make your life small.
yes, and I think you can, without even noticing, you can find that your life has become quite small due to OCD, and sometimes it just happens. You don't realize it at the time, but um,
Yeah.
so yeah, building a life that makes the
I think that's one of the biggest game changers when I work with clients is when they have that attitude and start to put energy in instead of in trying to calm OCD down. They put their mind and their energy on building the things they want into their life. And that first step is all those domains that you noted, hobbies and passions and lifelong learning and your social connections, family, your health, all of those things I see like a pie, and those are different domains.
yeah,
And there's more. Some people there's spirituality, there's community service, there's a lot of domains, and you pick the ones that you want depending on your time of life, the ones that are important to you. Pick a couple and just take one step in the direction, and that's one step OCD didn't get from you, right?
yeah.
Yeah, the ones that you named, I really appreciate those examples. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
And then pillar 7 again is something that we've already spoke about. Body scan meditation. So most evenings I lie down and do a 15 to 20-minute guided body scan meditation from YouTube. The practice is simple. You slowly move your attention through your body from your feet to the top of your head, noticing whatever sensations and feelings are present without trying to fix them, change them, or judge them. Any tension, discomfort, warmth, or heaviness, whatever's there, you just notice it. You're not trying to make anything happen. You're simply observing what the body is telling you without reacting to it, which might sound easy, but for someone with OCD, I think it's genuinely therapeutic. Every compulsion we perform is a reaction to discomfort. Something feels
Right.
wrong and we immediately act to fix it. The body scan trains the alternative. Feel something uncomfortable and simply observe,
Mm-hmm.
just without doing anything about it. And
How long have you been practicing this?
I've been doing the body scan meditation now for about 4 or 5 weeks, and I think again for those reasons, I
Mhm.
I like to think of it as ERP lying down.
Funny way to put it. Yeah. I see it as the gym for the mind, and it's like you're lifting the little weights.
Yeah.
And then whenever you're out in the world and some spontaneous exposure crosses your path, you've built up that muscle to be able to skillfully deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And have you ever heard of yoga nidra?
Yes.
Yeah. It's another type of way I think that um, you can scan the body and practice that's soothing and restful. So, pillar 8, this one really caught my attention.
Ah,
I'm curious about your experience with it.
yeah. So uh, I'm a big fan of Pillar 8. So every night, as I'm in bed, I listen to a passive hypnosis audio, again, most likely from YouTube, focused on confidence, self-esteem, positivity. The thought behind it being that OCD, a condition that feeds on self-doubt, uncertainty,
Mhm.
and a deeply negative relationship with your own mind. Deliberately and consistently inputting messages of confidence, self-worth, and positivity every single night is quietly powerful. You're consciously choosing to change the internal narrative. Every morning when you wake up, you, having spent the night being told that you are capable, you are enough, you deserve a good life, over time, I believe the message starts to stick. I think, yeah,
Because it erodes all of that, right? It can just really wear it down.
as I think, OCD tells, well, my OCD tells me a lot, and most of the time it's things that I don't want to hear, but
Mhm.
tells me I'm not capable, and it tells me that I can't do this or I can't do that. And so I think just changing that internal narrative and just
Yeah.
in that relaxed state, inputting positivity, confidence, self-esteem building. It's probably one of the least evidence backed of the pillars, but I think that it's genuinely worthwhile.
Yeah. I have had some experience with hypnosis myself, and I found it to be really helpful. I don't quite understand how it works, but I imagine it's similar to taking vitamins for our body. It's feeding our mind some better thoughts,
Mm,
and it's pointing our mind in a trajectory we hope it goes in.
yeah,
And again, if you're listening to something around confidence and self-esteem and positivity, if you're doing that, it's a competing response. It's competing with listening to something like true crime. You're choosing to put something a little more nourishing in your mind.
yeah.
Well, this is a stellar list. Very um, I'm very thankful for you sharing it with us. And now you're an advocate and you're putting this on your YouTube channel. You want to speak some about what you're doing with your work?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, the ultimate aid is something that I'm experimenting on myself. Um, the YouTube channel is the OCD practice, and
Is that the name of it? The
yeah,
OCD practice?
yeah,
Okay.
the OCD practice. And again, I share, it's mostly shorts. I share parts of the Ultimate 8 and parts of just tips about OCD recovery. I think my latest video was about the triple threat ERP.
I gotta take a listen to that.
But yeah, I'm working on a book to go alongside the Ultimate 8.
What's your timeline on that?
Probably about a month or so. So about 4 or 5 weeks.
That's not long.
No. And working title is When Nothing Works.
Oh, I like that. Do you mind if I ask you a question? You mentioned your wife a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
and how the group that you were a part of had a session where they spoke to the significant people
Yeah.
in the group members' lives. Um, I'm curious, just for a lot of people that uh, might listen to this may not have OCD so much as be trying to figure it out for the sake of a loved one. And I'm just curious, how do you find is the most helpful ways that your wife supports you that doesn't feed the OCD? So, right, not reassurance to the content of the thoughts, but what ways does she support you or help you when you seem to get stuck or in a compulsion?
That's a really good question. I think this might sound a bit bizarre, but we sometimes we we laugh at the OCD.
Yeah.
So I if I come in with um, an OCD question, so well, when I say an OCD question, if basically I'm looking for a reassurance, my wife will not laugh at me, but laugh at the topic. So for me,
Um,
a lot of the time, it's around the kitchen or the toilet. So she might say something like, um, we're we're not talking about anything from the toilet today. Nothing at all. It's a toilet-free day. Um, and I think as well, she's really good at not in the reassurance sense, but really good at sort of just listening when I'm
yeah.
trying to explain how I feel. Or I think I think that's it. I think the main thing is communication. I I can
Mm,
I know that I can talk to her about anything, and
yeah. So somehow she's become skillful at being patient and listening
yeah,
and offering humor, but not reassuring you or getting into the weeds of the content of the OCD.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you today that you would have liked to talk about?
Well, I wondered about the idea of possibly, perhaps, a few months down the road, after I've spent a couple of months inside the Ultimate 8, coming back on and sharing any results.
I would love that. Yeah, that would be amazing. In about 8 weeks or so?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. I
Okay,
think that would be great to see how it's evolved and what your takeaways are. That'd be great.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
Man, Carl, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for trusting me and coming on here.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Okay, great. Um,
Yeah.
Sam, it was really lovely to meet you and to talk with you. Um,
Yeah. So
thank you so much.
thank you. Thanks again to Carl for sharing his OCD journey with us and the ultimate 8 that he's created to help himself bridge that gap when there's no external support and he's having to do it for himself. I love that part where he talks about building a life so full that OCD gets pressed to the edges rather than spending the day negotiating with it. I love how he chooses to get it out there and live life. This is an invitation to pick a valued domain and take one step this week. That's one step OCD does not get. ERP, ACT, and mindfulness are the evidence-based practices of the ultimate 8. And the rest is Carl's own scaffolding. And hopefully we'll get to hear from him in the near future and see how it's going. That would be amazing. This episode meant something to you. You found it helpful. Follow, like, subscribe. Someone else who feels like they have run out of options can find their way here. Until next time, thank you for listening.